Beware the person who wears kindness like a costume, because behind the smile might live a monster. They don't come with fangs. They don't show up in horror movies. They show up in your life as someone who listens too well, laughs just right, and says exactly what you need to hear. But while you're opening your heart, they're calculating how to use it. My friends, this is not paranoia. This is pattern, and today we're exposing it. Before we go any further, I need you to do something. Press that like button, hit subscribe, and turn on the bell. Because what you're about to learn might just save your peace, your confidence, and your future. This isn't just another list. This is a survival guide, stoic, spiritual, psychological, against emotional predators hiding in plain sight. So, stay with me. Hey folks, imagine this. You're in the ocean, floating peacefully. The water's calm, the sun is warm, and then something brushes your leg. You don't see it, but it's there, silent, below the surface. That's what it feels like when you've got a psychopath in your life. Everything seems fine on top, until you're bleeding underneath. And here's the chilling part. They don't need to attack with rage. Most of the time they come dressed as a dream. You won't hear growling, you'll hear laughter. You won't see claws, you'll see compliments. That's the trap. They study you, mirror you, even adore you, until you're hooked. But make no mistake, folks, this is not affection. It's surveillance. It's not love. It's leverage. They don't connect with you. They collect you, piece by piece, memory by memory, weakness by weakness. And the moment you no longer serve their game, they vanish, leaving you confused, drained, and doubting your own reality. That's not just betrayal, that's psychological warfare. It's easy to think, but they were so nice. My friends, nice is not proof. Charm is not character. Attention is not affection. A psychopath doesn't need to scream at you, they just need to outsmart your emotions. They play a long game, quietly, ruthlessly. And if you don't know the signs, you'll think you're falling in love, when really you're falling into a trap. But let's be real. You're not here because you've never felt this. You're here because something already feels off. The perfect partner who suddenly turns cold. The best friend who somehow makes every crisis about themselves. The co-worker who lies so effortlessly, you start wondering if you're the crazy one. Sound familiar? Good, because you're about to see it clearly. Seneca once said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." But when you're tangled in a psychopath's world, imagination and reality blend. You start making excuses for them. You say things like, "They're just under pressure," or "They didn't mean it." But that's not compassion, my friends. That's self-doubt dressed up as loyalty. And today, we strip that disguise off. This isn't just about calling them out. This is about calling you back to yourself, to your clarity, your gut, your strength. Because the truth is, once you know what to look for, they can't hide. Not from your awareness, not from your boundaries, not from your silence. You don't need to confront them to win. You just need to stop handing them the script to your mind. That's stoic power. That's emotional self-defense. And yes, you can walk away stronger. So stay with me, because we're about to break down the 7 brutal signs you're dealing with a psychopath. This isn't fear, it's freedom. You're not weak for being fooled. You're wise now, because you're learning, and once you see the game, you can never unsee it. Now, if you're ready to never fall for the mask again, I want you to comment below. I protect my peace. Say it loud. Say it proud. Say it for you. Number 1, the mask of perfect charm. The devil doesn't come dressed in red. He comes dressed as everything you ever wanted. It starts with a smile, a touch that feels safe, a conversation that flows like you've known them forever. My friends, this is how it begins, not with chaos but with connection, or at least what feels like connection. They walk into your life not as a threat, but as the answer. They reflect your humor, your values, your pain, your passions. It's not coincidence, it's calculation. You're not meeting your soulmate, you're meeting your mirror. And behind that mirror is a mask, and behind that mask, something far more dangerous than you're ready for. Imagine standing in front of a locked vault, and someone hands you a key with a smile. You're grateful, even excited. What you don't know is they only gave you that key so you'd open your own vault, so they can walk in, take what they want, and leave without a trace. That's how charm works when it's weaponized. Not to warm you, but to disarm you. You might be wondering, but what if they really are just kind? What if I'm being paranoid? That's exactly how they want you to think. They count on your empathy. They rely on your habit of giving people the benefit of the doubt. That's why they go slow at first, memorizing you. Not just your favorite movie, but how you talk about your past. Not just your birthday, but how your voice cracks when you mention your parents. They store those details like currency. And later, they'll spend them when they need control. One day, you're the most special person they've ever met. The next, you're ignored, criticized, even blamed for things you didn't do. And you sit there wondering, what happened? What changed? The truth? Nothing changed. You just stopped being their project, their puppet, their praise dispenser. The charm was never love, it was leverage. And now that you're no longer feeding their ego, the mask starts to slip. But here's the trap. When that coldness hits, you don't run. You try harder. You rewind your words. You soften your boundaries. You chase the version of them they showed you in the beginning. And they know that. They designed that beginning to be unforgettable. So when they shift, it's not just confusing, it's soul-shaking. Epictetus said, if someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation. That's not blame, that's awareness. Stoicism teaches us not to hate the mask, but to see through it. To realize that charm isn't proof of character. That connection doesn't happen in days or weeks. Real people grow roots. Predators throw ropes. Fast, smooth, flattering. And if you grab it, they pull you in. But not to love you, to use you. It's hard to accept, because it means facing the idea that the person who made you feel safest might have been the one causing the most harm. But here's what's harder. Staying in the performance, pretending not to notice the cracks in the mask. Every time you ignore that gut feeling, you trade a piece of your peace for the hope that they'll turn back into the version you first met. But that version was an illusion. It was bait. Now is the time to step back, to slow down the emotions and see the patterns. Because when someone's affection comes in a tidal wave, too fast, too perfect, too soon, it's not meant to nourish. It's meant to knock you off balance. That's not love, that's control. You are not here to be studied. You are not here to be played. You are not here to be consumed by someone who only shows you warmth when they want something in return. The moment you feel like you're in a transaction, not a connection. Listen, that's your soul speaking, and it's begging you to wake up. So, my friends, ask yourself, was it ever real? Or were you just being read like a script? Because if they always knew the perfect thing to say, maybe they weren't speaking from the heart. Maybe they were speaking from a playbook. If any of this hit too close to home, I want you to write it below right now. I see the mask. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world around you that you are waking up to what was hiding in plain sight. And stay with me, because in the next sign, we're going even deeper. You're about to see how their lies don't just bend truth, they break your reality. Keep watching. Number 2, lies that feel like truth. A half-truth is more dangerous than a full lie because it walks around wearing honesty's clothes. It starts small, a name they forgot to mention, a story that sounds just a little too perfect, a timeline that doesn't quite add up. But you brush it off. You want to believe them. They're so confident, so convincing. How could someone who looks you in the eyes like that lie? My friends, that's exactly how they do it. You're not dealing with ordinary dishonesty here. This isn't someone lying to get out of a parking ticket or hide a bad habit. This is something darker, sharper, more surgical. This is psychological warfare, a type of lying that's so smooth, so rehearsed, that it makes you question you. Imagine standing in a room full of mirrors, but every mirror reflects a slightly different version of you. One smiles, one cries, one looks angry, one looks confused. That's what it feels like when you're in the hands of a psychopath who's mastered the art of lying. You lose track of what's real. You start bending your own memory to match their version of reality. And that's no accident. They do this on purpose. Lying for them isn't just a tool. It's a sport, a game of control, a way to twist reality until you're living in their version of the truth. They don't just lie to deceive, they lie to confuse. And the more confused you are, the easier you are to control. You catch them in something and bring it up. Their tone doesn't flinch. They don't panic. Instead, they flip it back on you. I never said that. You're remembering it wrong. Are you seriously still upset about that? And just like that, you go from holding the truth to holding self-doubt. Let me say this plainly. If someone can look you dead in the eye and deny something you know happened, run. That's not miscommunication. That's manipulation. That's gaslighting. Gaslighting isn't always dramatic. It's not just shouting or accusing. Sometimes it's subtle. It's a smile when you're crying. It's a shrug when you're asking serious questions. It's a gentle tone saying, "You're overthinking." But what it really says is, "Let me rewrite your reality." Stoicism teaches us that truth is not about perception. It's about principle. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If someone can prove me wrong and show me my mistake, I will gladly change, for it is the truth I seek." That's the mark of a grounded mind, a healthy mind. But when you're dealing with a manipulative liar, truth is not what they seek, it's what they bend. And if you try to hold them accountable, they twist your confrontation into proof that you're the problem. You say, "You told me this last week." They say, "You're being dramatic." You say, "But I remember it clearly." They say, "Wow, you're really insecure, huh?" And there it is. They've flipped the script. Now you're defending your memory, not addressing their lie. It's genius, it's cruel, and it's common. So why do we fall for it? Why do we second-guess ourselves when the red flags are screaming? Because you're human. You want to believe people mean well. You want to assume good intent, and that's exactly what they exploit. But here's where the power starts coming back to you. When you stop trying to make it make sense, when you stop looking for logic in someone who lies as a lifestyle, when you stop explaining away their inconsistencies because you remember how nice they were once. Let go of that fantasy. The person who told you they'd never hurt you is the same person who's rewriting history in front of your face, not by accident, but by design. Your reality matters, your memory matters, your feelings matter, and anyone who makes you feel like you're too much just for asking the truth, They are hiding something. You don't need to argue with them. You don't need to expose them. Stoicism teaches us that the greatest power is in knowing the truth and choosing not to let lies control your peace. Write it down, keep notes, document the patterns, not to fight them, but to protect yourself. Because when the mind games begin, it's easy to forget, easy to question yourself, easy to sink, but not today, not anymore. If you've ever felt like you were being erased by someone's lies, I want you to write it below in the comments. I trust my truth. Say it loud. Say it for yourself. Say it for the version of you who stayed silent when the truth got twisted. And stay with me, because what we're about to uncover next is the scariest sign of all. It's what happens when you cry in front of them and they don't even blink. Number 3, cold in the face of your pain. The most dangerous people aren't the ones who hurt you. It's the ones who feel nothing when they do. You've been there. You're sitting across from someone you care about, eyes filled with emotion, voice cracking, trying to explain how deeply something hurt you. Maybe you're crying. Maybe you're holding it in. But what you're hoping for is simple. Just some warmth, some understanding, a pause, a flicker of care. But what you get is a blank stare, or worse, a smirk, a shrug, a "why are you making this a big deal?" My friends, that's not just cold, that's inhuman. That's what it looks like when you're dealing with someone who lacks empathy, not low empathy, not emotionally unavailable. I'm talking about someone whose emotional radar is completely broken, and what makes it even more dangerous, they know how to pretend it's working. You see, psychopaths are expert mimics. They know the right words. They know when to nod, when to sigh, when to say, "I understand." But underneath that script, nothing. It's a hollow performance. They're not sitting with your pain. They're studying it. Like a predator watching prey limp. They don't feel the impact of your suffering. They calculate what they can do with it later. Imagine this. You're screaming in the middle of a storm, hoping someone will throw you a lifeline. But all they do is take notes on how loud you scream, how long you float before drowning, and what bait they'll use next time. That's how cold this gets. And yet, we make excuses. We say, maybe they're just not good with emotions, or they didn't grow up in a loving home, or maybe I'm expecting too much. But no, you're not. Wanting basic emotional presence is not asking for too much. What you're witnessing isn't shyness, it's a warning. Because real people, flawed, imperfect, still growing people, they may struggle to express empathy, but they feel it. They may stumble through it awkwardly, but they try. A psychopath doesn't try. They don't care. They only calculate, how can I turn this into leverage? Let me make it even clearer. If someone can watch you cry, stay indifferent, and then later use that same vulnerable moment against you in an argument, you are not in a relationship. You are in a power game, one where they keep score, and your pain is points. Seneca said, "Only the wise man is content with what he has." You know who's never content? A person without empathy, because they're never fulfilled, never connected. They move from one person to another, collecting feelings like trophies, but never feeling any of them. Their heart is a locked vault with no key, and trying to reach it, that's how you lose yourself. They might tell you they love you, but when you're hurting, where are they? They might say, "I'm here for you," but when you need support, they vanish, or worse, they say, "You're too sensitive." That's not love. That's gas in a lantern, flickering, unreliable, and ready to burn you when you get too close. You may find yourself trying to explain your emotions, hoping that if you just say it right, they'll finally get it. Maybe if you cry harder, open up more, beg just once, they'll see you. But they won't. Not because you're not worthy, but because they are not capable. This is what makes it so difficult, because you want to believe they care. You want to believe that there's a heart behind the silence. But that silence is not confusion. It's a wall, a calculated emotional boundary that protects their coldness while you bleed out in the open. So what do? You stop performing. You stop begging to be seen by someone who only watches. And you start protecting the one thing they don't expect you to reclaim: your emotional truth. Your pain is not an inconvenience. It's not a weakness. It's not something to hide. It's sacred. And anyone who treats it like an interruption is telling you exactly who they are. If you've ever sat across from someone and felt completely alone while pouring your heart out, write this in the comments right now. My pain matters. Say it loud. Say it strong. Say it for every version of you that was met with silence when you needed care. Let the world see you rising. And stay with me, because what comes next is even darker. We're stepping into the mind of those who don't just ignore your struggles, they exploit them for survival. You're about to see how they live off you without guilt. Number 4. They exploit you like a lifestyle, not a favor. A parasite never apologizes for feeding. It only leaves when there's nothing left to take. At first, it feels like teamwork, like you're building something together. They say things like, "We're in this as a team," or "I've never had someone support me like this before." It's flattering. It feels like purpose. You're investing in someone, and it feels good, until it doesn't. Until one day you look around and realize you've been building their life, not yours. My friends, this is not just about someone who leans on you during hard times. We all need that sometimes. This is about someone who makes a lifestyle out of draining others. Someone who sees your empathy not as a gift, but as an open wallet, an unpaid therapist, a free ride, a second chance machine. You're not their partner. You're their power source. It always starts small. A little financial help, a ride, a place to stay, just for a few days. A favor that turns into an expectation. They never take by force. They take by guilt. And when you hesitate, they don't ask, "Are you okay with this?" They ask, "I thought you cared about me." That's not a request. That's emotional blackmail. Picture this. You're a well. At first, they sip. Grateful, sweet. Then they start returning more often. Then they bring buckets, then barrels, then pipes, until suddenly you're dry. And when there's no more water, they look around, confused. "What happened to you?" they ask, as if you weren't the one holding them up the whole time. And here's where it gets cruel. They don't feel bad about what they took, because in their mind, they were entitled to it. Your kindness wasn't generosity. It was a debt they expected you to pay, over and over. And if you ever try to talk about how drained you feel, they flip the narrative. Suddenly you're selfish, you're not supportive, you've changed. No, you haven't changed. You've woken up. Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." But you see, a psychopath's wants are endless, not just for things, but for control, for validation, for dominance. And no matter how much you give, it will never be enough. Not because you lack generosity, but because they lack a soul deep enough to feel full. They don't build with you, they drain you. And the longer you stay, the more you believe you're supposed to keep giving, because they sold you a fantasy, the shared future, the big dreams, the one day we'll have it all plan. But one day never comes. What does come? Excuses, crises, last-minute emergencies that always need your help, your resources, your sacrifice. And when they're done, they don't leave with a thank you. They leave like you were a stop on their journey, a gas station, a warm bed, a stepping stone. And if you think they're finally gone, think again. They'll leave a crack open, maybe a password they still use, maybe a belonging they never come back for, just enough to creep back in when they need something again. My friends, this isn't love. This isn't friendship. This isn't family. This is a business transaction with no return on investment. And the cost? Your self-worth, your time, your emotional energy, your peace. But here's the truth. Stoicism hands us like a sword. You are not obligated to be consumed by someone else's emptiness. You are not their savior. You are not their rehab center. You are not their last resort. You are a whole person with boundaries, needs, and a right to protect what you've worked so hard to build inside yourself. You don't have to explain yourself. You don't have to feel guilty. And you sure as hell don't have to keep bleeding for someone who only shows up to collect. So ask yourself, are they here to build with you or to feed off you? And when they say, after all I've been through, ask yourself, are they actually healing? Or are they just hiding behind pity to keep taking? If you've ever felt like your love was treated like a credit card, swiped over and over with no intention of being paid back, write this in the comments right now. I am not your supply. Say it. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world that your well has a bottom and you finally found it. And stay with me, because next we're exposing the weapon that hurts even more than lies or manipulation. It's when they take your vulnerability and use it as ammo. You're about to see just how far they're willing to go to stay in control. Number 5, they weaponize your vulnerabilities. The scariest people aren't the ones who ignore your pain. They're the ones who remember it and save it for later. You ever share something with someone late at night? Something deep, something real, something you don't even tell yourself out loud. And in that moment, they nod, they say the right things, they act like they're holding space for you. But weeks or months later, when you're in an argument, suddenly they throw it in your face, twist it, mock it, use it, like a knife with your fingerprints already on it. That's not just betrayal, my friends. That's psychological warfare. That's what it looks like when a psychopath turns your trust into a trap. At first, they create a safe space. They ask questions. They open up, just enough to make you feel like you're being emotionally matched. But really, they're collecting data, your fears, your traumas, your regrets. They're not storing it in their heart. They're storing it in their arsenal, waiting for the moment they can strike. Imagine a chess game where every move you make is being documented, not so they can connect with you, but so they can trap you later. That thing you shared about your family, the breakdown you had during a rough week, that vulnerable message you sent when you were anxious and scared. They never forgot it, because they knew one day it could be used to shut you down, shame you, or manipulate your emotions back into silence. And when they do it, they don't even flinch. In fact, they might laugh, or call you too sensitive, or say, I'm just being honest. No, they're not. They're being cruel. And worse, they're being intentional. This is not what love does. This is not what trust feels like. Stoicism teaches us to protect our peace, to know ourselves, and to guard what is sacred. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." But when you're around someone like this, Your soul starts getting stained with shame that doesn't even belong to you. You begin to pull back, you share less, you question more, and eventually you stop expressing yourself at all because the person you trusted with your truth turned it into a weapon. That's not emotional safety, that's silent control. But here's what you must remember. Your vulnerability was never the problem. Their response was, your openness is not weakness, it's strength. You were brave to share. And just because someone took your truth and twisted it doesn't mean you were wrong for speaking it. It means they were never safe to begin with. So if you've ever had your deepest truths turned against you, write this in the comments. My vulnerability is power. Say it to reclaim it. Say it to break the shame. Say it to show yourself you're done being punished for your honesty. And stay with me, because what we're about to reveal next is even more exhausting. The emotional whiplash they use to keep you chasing a connection that was never real. Number 6. They keep you spinning with emotional whiplash. They don't break you with punches, they break you with confusion. One day they're warm, present, obsessed with you. The next, cold, distant. You're left staring at your phone, rereading messages, wondering what changed. You go over every word you said, every look, every pause. Did you do something wrong? Did you push too hard? Or is this just them? Welcome to the mind game, my friends. This is emotional whiplash, where the highs are intoxicating and the lows feel like withdrawal. And it's not random, it's not immaturity, it's not bad communication, it's control. This push-pull dynamic is how a psychopath tightens their grip without you even realizing it. They want you addicted to the highs, those love-bombing moments where it feels like the universe finally gave you what you've been praying for. The perfect connection, the compliments, the intensity, the feeling of being chosen, but then they vanish. They go cold. They say they're just busy or accuse you of being too needy. And when you start to pull away, they rush back in. It's a cycle. They flood you with attention to hook your emotions, then pull it away to make you chase it. It's like training a dog with treats. Give, withhold, give, withhold, until eventually the dog stops asking why and just starts doing whatever it takes to get the treat again. My friends, you are not a dog, and love is not a reward for obedience. This cycle rewires your brain. It teaches you to associate instability with intimacy, that real love means anxiety, that passion means confusion. But Stoicism calls this what it is, madness. It teaches us that peace is not found in others. It's found in the consistency we create for ourselves. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That means you don't have to keep riding the emotional roller coaster. You can step off. But first, you have to admit that the ride is rigged. Ask yourself, if someone only shows you affection when they're afraid of losing you, is that love or fear? If someone needs you to beg for their time and beg for their warmth, is that connection or manipulation? Because here's the truth. Healthy love doesn't confuse. It doesn't vanish and reappear based on how useful you are. It doesn't punish you with silence and then expect you to act normal when they come back around. That's not romance. That's emotional blackmail with a smile. So if you've ever felt like you were constantly walking on eggshells, trying to earn back the version of someone they used to be, I want you to write this in the comments. I choose stability. Not the fake peace that comes after chaos, but real, grounded, soul-deep calm. And stay with me, because next we're facing the final storm. The root behind it all, the chaos, the lies, the coldness. It's time we talk about their greatest flaw, the total refusal to take responsibility. They never take responsibility. And somehow, it's always your fault. The most exhausting people aren't the ones who make mistakes. They're the ones who refuse to admit they ever did. Have you ever noticed that no matter what happens, it's never their fault? Not once. The job they lost? Unfair boss. The friend who cut them off? Jealousy. The ex who blocked them? Too emotional. The chaos in their life is always someone else's doing, and you better believe they've got a story for each one. But sit with them long enough, and you'll notice something disturbing. They are the common denominator in every storm they swear they didn't cause. Psychopaths don't take accountability, not because they're unaware, but because accountability threatens their illusion. Owning their actions would mean seeing themselves clearly, and they'd rather distort reality than do that. So they rewrite the narrative. And if you confront them, oh, you're too sensitive. Overthinking. Making a big deal out of nothing. Sound familiar? They flip it fast. Suddenly, you're apologizing for your tone, your reaction, your timing. You start second-guessing yourself, and boom, you're now carrying their guilt and your confusion. It's like cleaning up a mess someone made while they sit back and point out how you're doing it wrong. And the sickest part? The more responsible you are, the more they use it against you. They know you'll clean it up. They expect you to. They hide behind your integrity while dodging every consequence they create. But Stoicism puts a mirror to that madness. As Marcus Aurelius said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." You can't force someone to own their actions, but you can own your boundaries. You can stop explaining yourself to someone who's allergic to truth. You can stop being the emotional janitor in someone else's mess. Ask yourself, how many times have you forgiven the same offense only to be hurt again? How many times have they promised to change only to blame you when they didn't? That's not growth. That's manipulation wrapped in fake remorse. Real accountability comes with change, with apology, with reflection. A psychopath offers none of those. What they offer is chaos, denial, deflection, and they do it with confidence that you'll accept it. But not anymore. Because now you know the pattern, now you see the signs, and now you hold the power. So if you've ever been caught in this loop, apologizing for things you didn't do, forgiving things they never changed, losing your mind trying to make sense of the senseless, I want you to write this in the comments right now. I reclaim my reality. Say it, type it, own it. Because you are done being the one who bleeds while they stay spotless. And if this entire breakdown hit home, share this video with someone who needs the truth. Hit that like button, subscribe, and turn the bell on, because we're just getting started. This isn't just a channel, it's a movement, a war against manipulation, a return to self-respect. And you, my friend, just became impossible to fool.